I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Reading Municipal Light Department Board of Commissioners. It is June 12th. This meeting of the Reading Municipal Light Department Board of Commissioners is being broadcast at the RMLD's office at 230 Ash Street, Reading, Mass. Live broadcasts are available only in Reading due to technology constraints. This meeting is being videotaped for distribution to the community television stations in North Reading, Wilmington, and Linfield. I'd like to welcome Dave Nelson from the CAB.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glad to be here.
Good to have you. I'd like to read our Board of Commissioners Code of Conduct. The RMLD Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of hearing public comment at the discretion of the chair on items on the official agenda as well as on items not on the official agenda. We ask that all questions or comments from the public be directed to the chair and that all parties, including members of the RMLD Board, act in a professional and courteous manner when addressing the board or responding to comments. Once recognized by the chair, all persons addressing the board shall state their name and address prior to speaking. It is the role of the chair to maintain order in all public comment or ensuing discussion. Let's see. I'd like to appoint secretary for tonight. Phil, would you be the secretary tonight?
Sure.
Thank you.
Happy to be.
And let's see. Is there, I believe there's any public comment? I don't believe there's any here tonight. So perhaps we could move directly into the presentation for the actuarial report from Larry Stone from Stone Consulting. Please.
Tonight we have Larry Stone from Stone Consulting, who will be presenting the January 1, 2014 actual valuation of RMLD's pension trust.
Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Larry Stone. I'm the president of Stone Consulting, listening to your code of conduct. It's 5 West Mill Street, Suite 4 in Medfield, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Thank you.
We prepared an actuarial valuation as of 1/1/2014 for the Reading Municipal Light Department Trust. The Reading Municipal Light Department Trust acts as a investment vehicle, which, and combined with money which is in the Reading Retirement Trust, to pay for the benefits for the current retirees and future retirees of the Reading Municipal Light Department. One of the major results that we had was that you had very good asset returns, particularly the money which was invested in the Reading retirement system, because they contribute in equities, invest in equities, and that was there was very good rates of return for that over the years. So that has significantly lowered the contribution requirement, where before it was, we were estimating it that it would be 1.7 million, over 1.7 million, and now it would be someplace between 1.3 million and 1.4 million. So that's good, very good news for the group. There are a number of places, just in terms of how much money there is. There's about $36.7 million, which is allocated in the Reading retirement system for the benefits of the Reading Municipal Light Department people. And then the Reading Municipal Light Department has a trust fund, and that has almost $3.9 million in it. So a combination of over $40.5 million is going to pay for those, potentially for the benefits. So there are a number of assumptions which we use to derive this. One is the interest rate and the discount rate, and that's used to calculate how assets are expected to perform and in the future, and how you discount future events, future benefits out to the current day. In the past, we've used about a 7% retirement interest rate assumption, and one of the things that I'm recommending is that we actually raise that to 7.25% this year, and that is based on the fact that the Reading Municipal Light Department, the Reading Retirement System, which represents over 90% of the assets, is expected to earn approximately 7.75% over the long term. And we assumed that the Reading Municipal Light Department assets would probably return 2.5 to 4.4% a year. And that sounds like it's not a good, you're not investing well. What it really is just reflects a different type of assets, because the Reading Municipal Light Department monies are in fixed income, and their main goal isn't to have an extraordinarily high rate of return, but to have preservation of capital. So given those two, and it achieves that goal by doing that. So by using a combination of those two, we were able to come up that you should probably have a discount rate someplace between 7.25% and 7.3 some odd percent. So we were recommending a 7.25% as sort of somewhat on the a little bit on the conservative side. But either way, this lowers your cost, because we're reflecting the fact that instead of 7%, you're going to earn in the future 7.25% on your rate of return. So you can contribute less money because more of the money will come from investment return. So that's part of the good news. Plus, then you had the asset gains where you earned over 7%. Now, in the other direction, we're recommending a generational mortality assumption. What that is that it's reflecting the fact that people are living longer. And in particular, like if somebody who's 65 now, they're going to live for about 18 to 19 years on average. But somebody who's currently 25, when they're in 40 years from now, when they hit 65, they'll live someplace like closer to 24, 25 years. So what we're doing is adopting a methodology which is called generation mortality, which would reflect that. And each date of birth, each year of birth would get their own sort of separate mortality table, which would be reflecting an improvement in how long people live. And that is costly because that's the period of time that you're paying benefits for. So to do those two things sort of somewhat offset. The change in the discount rate lowers the value of the benefits, future benefits, by $1.7 million. The increase in the mortality increases it by about $2.4 million. So they somewhat offset each other. But overall, that when you look at it and you pay for it over time, it's only about $50,000 a year. Not only, but it's $50,000, which relative to the full contribution isn't that much. But still a reasonable amount of cash. But you have to remember, we're just budgeting. The cost of the plan is really the benefits that are paid from it. We're just budgeting for it. So that my recommendation is to use that combination, and that gives you a cost for fiscal 2014 of $1,374,538. And one of the other things that we did note was that they recently had what they call pension reform, that employees who were hired after April 1, 2012 have had their benefits fairly significantly cut back. That people, instead of being able to retire with the full percentage at 65, you now have to wait till 67. And there's some people who were able to retire at age 55 with the full benefit. Now it's 57. And also they've cut back any subsidy on early retirement and changed some other rules. So taking that into account and assuming how this would affect different people, this has lowered the cost of the benefits for your current employees by about $127,000. And that also contributed to the lowering of the contribution. So that is really sort of the bulk of it. And I think, you should be, not that long ago, it was about $2 million was the estimated contribution. So this is a significant lowering of it from $2 million to under $1.4 million. So this is my recommendation to the board.
And we go through this work effort every 2 years, is that
Yes.
correct? Right, to re-examine
Yes, it's
where
not
we are.
meant to be, you're not supposed to be making sharp turns on this. It's like steering a super tanker. You make assumptions and you look at it each time and say, okay, what has changed? Do we want it? That's why instead of going to, let's say, from 7 to 7.4, I'm recommending only go to 7.25. You don't want to make really large changes because you want to be a little on the cautious side.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Stone? If not, may I get a motion from the Budget Committee?
Yes. The Budget Committee met, and they recommend well, let me see. We recommend the following motion. Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners accept the pension trust actuarial valuation as of January 1, 2014 from Stone Consulting, Inc.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Is that worded correctly, Bob? From,
Accept the report, yes.
yeah, okay. Okay.
What's up? Okay. Good. Can I see a show of hands, please, for all in favor? Yes.
And there was a second motion.
Yes, please.
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners authorize the general manager to deposit $1,374,538 into the RMLD's pension trust fund.
May I have a second, please?
Second?
Discussion? If no discussion, can I see a show of hands, please? Vote. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Stone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're on to the second item here, recommended motions for cost of service study, which I believe we did cover in the last meeting, and then we submitted to the CAB, which I believe voted for them as well. So what we'd like to do here is basically get motions to approve these various cost of service study issues.
Are we moving, is it one motion as with the handout we have, or is what's in the agenda as to what we're voting?
The handout is actually,
Because it looks like it's one motion that's in the handout, which make it a lot easier, but as opposed to reading them all.
well, let me ask the question. Does the handout cover all of the motions that are included?
These motions were what the CAB voted on, so we provided those to the board. Should you want to go to vote on similar motions that the CAB voted. The last motion that was handed out are reflective of the rates, which incorporate all these changes.
So it incorporates all of the motions, A, B, C, D, and E,
Everything we have.
that we had voted on previously. Is that correct?
Okay.
Good. Then let's do a combined.
I'd be more than happy to, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Move that the RMLD Light Board of Commissioners approve the adoption of rates MDPU numbers 236, 237, 238, 239, 240, 241, 242, 243, 244, 245, dated to be effective July 1st, 2014, on the recommendation of the general manager, and that the chart will be part of the motion too.
Thank you. So may I have a second, please?
Second?
Thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, may I see a show of hands for approval? Thank you. We have, and for those against? Okay. May it be recorded, we have one vote for against, Commissioner Solly. Motion passed.
Very good.
All right. Let's see if we might move on to, let's see, we did cover 606 F and G, is the report of the committees, and I believe Vice Chair Pacino, you had two
Yeah, I
different
have
things to
two.
report on, please.
Right, two things. The Charter Review Committee has met several times at this point. We are pretty much at the end of any substantial changes that are going to be made to the charter. We are meeting again, I believe, next Monday night and 2 weeks from that to finalize everything. So I think the reason why I asked this to be put on the agenda is I think it'd be the good time now to maybe have legal counsel for the light department to look at what changes have been made to the charter and whether there's any kind of conflict we may have with that, so I can report that back to the Charter Review Committee at
Yeah,
this
that's an
point.
excellent suggestion, yeah.
Right, so, I mean, the changes, oh, I hear the trainer coming. The changes are actually on the Town of Reading website. If you go under the town clerk's area, under her department, you'll actually see the changes that have been made. They've been highlighted. They're actually up on the website. But I do think this would be an appropriate time to have legal counsel look at it and get any comments back to me so I can bring it back to the Charter Review Committee at this point. And if there's any changes or anything that we have concerns with, now is the time, I believe, to express them.
And what kind of timing do we have to do this in again?
We're meeting Monday night, this coming Monday night, and then 2 weeks from Monday night is the next meeting.
So if we had them by 2 weeks from Monday, that would be
Yeah, that would be
sufficient
fine.
time?
That'd be sufficient time, and then in July, the committee is hoping to meet with the Board of Selectmen at that point, actually at the Board of Selectmen's. So,
Thank you. Colleen, that's within the right time frame. We can make this a legal opinion. Right. Thank you. Just
Yep.
offhand, are there items on that you think might be in a gray
no, I
area?
mean, I don't really see any changes that I could see that are any concern that I had at this point. I mean, legal counsel certainly should look at it. There's no question. I know the town legal counsel will be looking at it also.
Mhm.
I think it's important that the departments, and basically the changes that I've talked about before are still the same. There's been nothing new that's been added to that at this point in terms of any of the changes that have been made. But I would recommend everybody go out and take a look at it on the website and download the copy of what changes are out there.
Okay,
Okay?
good, thank you.
All right.
And I believe you also had the Town of Reading.
Yeah, the Town of Reading Audit Committee met last week. We finally got a quorum. After on the third try, I believe. And basically, the audit was accepted. Melanson Heath made a presentation, who's also the department's auditor. And so the annual audit has been accepted, of which some of the department's funds are actually in here as part of the town audit. So that has been accepted. There was a management letter too. There was some concerns. There was some problems, some questions on the town end of year cutoff. Some of the fund balance policy. And one of the problems they had is that in terms of when they go out and they bid a job, basically in some cases, particularly this had to do with roads, when additional state money was available, the contractor was actually exceeding what the bid was. And I guess under the law, if it's exceeded by more than 20%, you have to go back and get approval for something. And that was a problem with the town. So I bring that up. I don't know if that affects us down here or not on that, but it was a concern. I mean, it's not like there wasn't the money available, because in the case they cited, actually there was state money available through the Chapter 70 money. And, it was definitely roads which people want done, and so they just went ahead and did them. But they did exceed what the contract was bid for by more than the 20%. And there was a concern that is actually, you had to go back and get some sort of approval that was not getting at that point. Now, the town accountant is actually taking steps to correct that uptown at this point, where she's going to be reviewing, she's actually going to be in the loop on some of these things, so that if those things happen again, that she will be aware of it and bring it to people's attention. And she has gone over all the engineers in the department too, in terms of that.
So the issue was that they'd gone over budget, but...
By more than 20%.
By more than 20%, but was there any sort of root cause of that? Was the estimation done incorrectly to begin with, or that wasn't really?
It really was the fact that the case that was brought to the audit committee was the fact that there was additional money from the state to pay for it. And because it was roads and they wanted to get them done, they just went off and spent the money because it was available.
Sure.
To get the roads done and the curbing done.
Show
So,
ready, yeah.
Bill, and what's the tie-in to RMLD?
I don't know if we're affected by this rule or not, the 20% rule or not, I don't know. That's the only reason I bring it up. And I'll be happy to, if you want a copy of it, why don't you send that down to Colleen as to the
I don't know, do we ever see federal monies available, do we, for,
We have, there has been
Yeah.
federal money available, particularly in the past during a storm.
It's FEMA,
FEMA, there may be
Ah, right,
FEMA, there may be
sure.
FEMA money.
right?
but it could apply to state fundings on
Right.
certain projects, and so
Right.
I'll double check it.
Okay, great.
Which there's an additional audit requirement that the auditors have to do in terms of its federal money. They have to do an A-133 audit, is what they call. We've had to have that in the past, we've had storms where we've been involved.
Good, thank you very much.
Okay.
Now we're on to item number 8, which is approval of the board minutes from February 27th, 2014. Tab B in our, I was not present at that meeting. Vice Chair Pacino was chairman. Are there any questions? on
Chairman
the-
Pro Tem, Chairman Pro Tem.
Chairman Pro Tem. Were there, can I get a motion to approve
Yeah,
the
I'll
meetings?
move that we approve the minutes as presented.
May I have a second, please?
I assume I'll abstain since I was not.
Second.
Right. Second? Good. May I have discussion? Are there any questions on these minutes? Anyone want to make any changes? If not, may I see a show of hands for approval of the minutes from February? Thank you.
Were you present?
Oh, I wasn't. I'm sorry. I had to abstain.
Yeah, you should abstain.
Let's
only two
redo
of
that.
us.
Thank you very much. I mentioned I wasn't there, and then I voted on it.
All in
Okay.
I wasn't there either, so,
Oh,
yeah. There's only 2 people who can vote on it, if that's the rule.
We have to be able to vote.
To approve.
Let us say tomorrow a beer truck wiped out 4 of us.
We should all be so lucky.
The minutes would have to be approved.
Right.
You know, there's only
That's right.
one.
All right, then my
Your vote.
initial vote counts.
in
I
in
did
this
approve it.
case, in this case.
I agree with you.
In this
And
case.
in my
Commissioner
case,
Solly,
John,
thank
I
you
don't
very
know, the fact that I wasn't on the
No,
board,
I think you're
I-
fine. We have
I
enough.
think
We
you're
got 3. We have
fine. I
a
think
quorum.
you're fine.
Out of that, 3 out of 5.
I think
so.
you're fine.
Okay, the general manager's report. Ms. O'Brien, please.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to request the attendance of the Board of Commissioners, as well as the members of the Citizens Advisory Board, to join me, as well as approval of my overnight travel to the Northeast Public Power Annual Conference this year in August 24th to 27th in Falmouth, Mass. Seminars will include discussions on leadership for board members, financial behavioral strategies, federal energy policy updates, and the natural gas impact on electricity in this general region.
So should we have a motion to approve?
Yeah, let me actually move that we authorize the general manager to attend the NEPA conference in August at the Seacrest in Falmouth.
Right.
Second.
Second. Discussion? I think this is extremely worthwhile. We went to the Stowe conference last year, and it was extremely,
Right, and it's a requirement under the general manager's contract. We vote this, too. Yep.
okay. So let's, should I see a show of hands, please? Thank you. Unanimous vote.
Okay, now I'm planning to attend also, so.
Yes, Jeannie asked to try and.
Have Jeannie send me the information.
Who else would like to
Sign up.
attend?
Mhm. Or she can sign me up at least.
Commissioner Solly would also like to attend.
Yeah.
Tom, would you
I
like to
will-
attend?
Subject to availability, I have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the same for me, it's subject to availability. I'd have to look at my calendar. Commissioner
I-
Talbot, are you interested?
I think so, yeah.
Jeannie will send it out if she hasn't already, the conference and the agenda, the dates and everything to each of the CAB members, as well as the Board of Commissioners, and she can get in touch with you as far as when she needs a final count. Thank you.
Good.
The only thing is, if you're gonna sign up soon, because you've gotta make sure you get into the hotel in time.
Yeah.
If you wait too long, you'll end up some other place.
Right. I have one other quick thing.
Please, go ahead.
here, and that's that, it's not on the agenda, but it's an update. I'd like to ask Priscilla, our public, community relations coordinator, to speak on RMLD's responsive communication effort.
Excellent.
Okay, well, we've been pretty busy here at work and trying to develop the best way to communicate to all our customers at once. So we're working towards building more of the email list. And some of the things that we have talked about this last couple of weeks is getting ready for the updated bill. We're going to have a show, a TV, an RCTV cable show this coming June 25th, which is Wednesday night. It's going to be here at 7 o'clock. Wilmington Cable TV, we let them know ahead of time that we're doing this. So the Wilmington TV would like their citizens to be able to call in and ask questions too. So RCTV and WCTV are working with that. Linfield and North Reading have also been notified, so chances are they might also make it available to their residents. This will be live here. It's going to be call-in. Colleen, Jane, and I will be here, and we're going to discuss, we're going to have a poster of the new bills, one residential, one commercial. And Jane and Colleen will talk about the change in the prompt payment discount, the new low-income rate, the new unbundled format, and we'll all talk about the responsible communications campaign that we're initiating to have the ability to reach our customers regarding outages, peak appeals, peak usage, energy conservation appeals, and we're trying to have the capability to email and text our customers by mass electronic. So we're working on that. As far as the peak goes, we've also let all the cable companies know that we will send them updates as soon as we hear anything from ISO. And our goal is to send electronic messages to our customers on the peak shaving also. We will have messages and procedures available so that when the peak is anticipated that day, we will have everything to send. We've contacted the superintendents in all the schools so that we can use their parent email lists. And I've heard back from Reading and North Reading, who said that they're fine with that. We're still waiting to hear from Wilmington and Linfield, who both have brand-new superintendents, so I'm not sure if the message has gotten to them yet. We're working with the cable TV companies, the Rotary Club, the chambers, and asking them to redistribute our messages so that we can reach as many people as we can. In the paperless billing and the auto pay, we are having a contest, a campaign right now to attract more customers to sign up for the paperless billing and auto pay, because even though some customers are auto pay, some of them still get a paper bill. So we're pushing that they take themselves off that. So from June 15th to September 15th, we have a contest going, and people are automatically entered to win an iPad Nano. We currently have about 13,000 emails, which is pretty good. It's about 50% of our customer list. So we have a master list, and we're trying to get it together to work with Constant Contact, who will be like a third-party mailer who will mail these lists out. We're trying to ask our customers for their cell phone numbers too, because texting is also an option, and not everyone will want to be contacted one way. People, if we want them to be contacted one way or the other or both, so we're giving them that option on their registration forms. Also in the process of checking with other utilities to see how they're reaching their masses. From what I'm getting back, there's not too many utilities that are actually doing that yet, but they're all in the process of getting back to me on it. So that information will come. Another way that we're cutting down on paperless is that this year's annual report, we're going to have designed as a web design. So anyone who wants to print it can print it, but we'll save the expense of printing the 400 copies that we usually do have printed. And other things that are going on in public relations are, we have the Friends and Family Day, which is at Birch Meadow on Saturday, so we'll be there for that. The annual Fall Street Fair is coming up September 7th, and we'll be there for that. And a couple of my projects that I have here, the historical calendar and the T-shirt contest, are in the preliminary stages. So that's where I am.
Thank you, Priscilla. I'd like to add one thing to that. Our slogan is part of our responsive communication. Part of it is get greener. Everyone's already going green. We're going to get greener. So as part of the paperless effort, I'd like to add to what Priscilla said as far as the annual report. That she is correct, but for some of the town charter, we may require to have printer-friendly, and we'll supply them, just the financial pages that will go to the actual annual town meeting. And that's in accordance with the charter. So we'll be complying with that, but it'd be, not the heavy card stock, just the basic 8.5 by 11 financial sheets. In addition to that, and I've sent out an email, and we really haven't worked through it, but I'm going to try to encourage that we can start to do these board packets and perhaps maybe digitally sent. You can do it to your own laptop, and we can have further discussions as to whether or not you have the electronic device in order to be able to view those. But putting these together is time-consuming and it's costly, and we want to be better to the environment. So it's more of that get greener, and we can talk more about that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, a comment?
Yes,
Yeah,
please,
so
go ahead.
Priscilla, I just want to say, we talked, I think, 2 meetings ago about, or maybe it was last meeting, about the communications process and the importance of it. So I think this is a great response to things that you're doing, so I applaud that. I just had a question, partly to encourage people to provide it, but also just because I think it makes sense. So if, in terms of outages, do we currently have, now that we have emails and maybe encouraging texts, can that also be a vehicle to notify people if there's going to be an outage or when there is an outage? Because that's obviously timely information that people would probably,
Yeah, one of the things that what we have a master email list, and we're trying to zero in on certain areas, or say if Linfield was out, we can, have the Linfield people who may be affected for outages.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything is, we're trying to be able to do that.
Is there also, does RMLD participate in any, like the school systems and some companies we have like a reverse 911, so like the police? If you wanna
Yeah,
send a
I
broadcast?
forgot to mention that. We're talking to all the towns about the reverse 911. I think we're meeting next week with Reading. I've talked to the town manager in Linfield today, and he referred me to I think it's the deputy chief who oversees that. North Reading we're talking to, and we're still waiting to hear from Wilmington. But yeah, we're talking to see how they're going to go with it, or if they think the peak conservation, when we reach the peak demand, if that fits their criteria. So we're working on it.
Would we have our own system at RMLD to do that, or you'd tap into someone else's?
Well,
Would you like me to speak to that?
yeah.
As far as the outages and the outage management system and integrating a voice recognition system similar to a reverse 911, that's part of our long-term plan to put that together so that we'll have the capability to send out messages for isolated areas for outages. In the interim, to try to address this year's peak, or any operating procedure that comes from the ISO, which means they may issue a power caution or a power warning. If we do not conserve enough and they don't gain enough megawatt savings to stabilize the electric grid in New England, they could go to a voltage reduction and then lastly, a rolling blackout, okay, which we don't want to go to. But depending on now that Salem Harbor is shut down, we don't know how quickly the ISO can escalate. Because if you're starting to escalate and then all of a sudden you lose, say, Millstone or Seabrook, you can very quickly go to that operating. So when we speak to the towns, the reverse 911, to be able to use that right away, we have to meet a category of emergency. So we're meeting with the towns over the next week or so to discuss with the fire chiefs as to whether or not that would qualify. So appeals might not be considered emergency, so we're still in parallel working on our own system. Again, if we were to appeal and we were to lower the usage, but then it very quickly goes to a blackout, well, then maybe somebody might think that's an emergency, but that's for them to decide.
I mean, the value is in preventing the emergency, right?
It's preventing, but they don't want to use the system, you know, they don't want to use the system for that means. So we're going to discuss it a little bit more. They're going to make a decision based on what we really intend to use it for, and we're working our own in parallel, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please, go ahead.
just want to say great job to Colleen and Priscilla and emphasize, this is really a completely brand new thing that the department is doing after so many years, and now we're really ramping up an actual mass communication strategy. It's not easy to do, and it's great that we're doing it. I just want to point that out. And when those messages come out, I don't know who's watching these meetings, but you can relay the message on to your friends and neighbors. It sort of doesn't matter, who's forwarding it along. Colleen's message is Colleen's message, and anything that any of us can do to relay it on to our groups and our civic groups and our neighborhood groups, it's all to the better, because that day is when people need to do the action. So just want to put that out there. And do we have a strategy for hitting the 10 biggest customers, the 10 biggest consumers?
Well, the Integrated Resources and Planning group that Jane heads up, I mean, we have other programs that we're working with our larger customers as well for other programs that will help shave the peak or to conserve during any ISO REMVEC operations, which are, by the way, mandated.
Right.
They're not, and we want to conserve on the peak because I believe every megawatt we save is about 37,000 right now, but that's going to double next year. So that's a conservation for money, but if that's coincident with the stabilization of the generators in the area, so the peak is coincident with actual power cautions, then you're talking about mandates, and it's not just about saving
Right.
money and keeping our rate low. Now you're talking about electrical stability. So two different things, but tied together.
Right. And the schools one is particularly good. I mean, when John Doherty sends something out in Reading, it's like everything lights up in our house. Every phone is going, the emails firing up at once, because they have every means of reaching us. So the fact that you were able to get that done is great, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That system is being leveraged for us, and that's fantastic.
Right.
And did you say North Reading is also going to do that for us?
Yes. Yeah.
And hopefully our friends in Linfield and Wilmington can, anything that can be done to help Linfield do the same in Linfield schools would be great. Not to put you on the spot, but I mean,
No.
I actually have a note to speak with the superintendent, either the outgoing or one coming in.
Yeah, see, they're both Wilmington and Linfair in transit, yeah, right.
that'd be great. I mean, that reaches a lot of people. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, so when you gave your information to the school to be, I mean, when it's our own children, of course, we want to
Right.
be contacted every way we can.
Sure.
So when you gave your information to the school, you gave your cell phone?
Everything.
your
They ask
email?
you, if we need to reach you, and there's about 8 different things. It's home phone number, email, text, but all the mobile numbers of us. There's about 6 different things that we get all at once.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
when it's snowing, we turn it all off because we know that it's all going to go off at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and it's going to wake us up with we'd rather just wake up normally and find out when we wake up. So anyway, it's great to leverage these platforms are out there already, and it's great that we're getting them,
Yeah.
that we're on them
Yeah.
now. It's excellent.
I got my online invoice. Sweet.
Oh, yeah, really?
Let me just go, one last item. I'm glad to hear that we're actually going to go digital on some of these things. I kind of been there already.
Yeah.
But I'm very glad to see that we're going to be able to do that. One of the things I would suggest, and it's something we've done in one of the committees that I serve in the Mass Society of CPAs, actually in the agenda, we actually put the Wi-Fi password into the agenda so that if people can actually just log right into the website and actually get to where the documents are that are on the website.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly it's done in business all the time.
Right. Exactly. This is solely on that side.
Yes, right.
We're still on general manager's report, so I guess I can ask a question. The rate package I saw for the first time tonight for commercial C rate, it has a distribution demand charge. It has a distribution energy charge. The industrial time of use has a distribution demand charge, but I don't seem to see a distribution energy charge. Is that correct?
Can you tell me which one again on industrial?
MDPU number 241.
Okay, Jane, do you want to get up and speak?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Solly.
Could you come up to the microphone? Could
Oh,
you
yeah,
have it
sure,
to
come
the
on up here,
microphone,
please, Jane.
for the cable TV people. So those at home can hear.
That's correct, Mr. Solly. Based on the cost of service, when Mayhew Seavey from PLM conducted it, there was sufficient funds collected within the demand component to equate to the distribution charges, and there was no distribution energy component. There'll be just an on-peak and an off-peak component for the purchase power costs.
And at some point, the board will get to see that
Yep.
data?
Yep. You'll see the whole package for the cost of service, the write-up and everything.
After we've approved.
Correct.
Well, I believe that is correct.
Okay.
Thank you. I believe we're, if there are no other questions, I believe we're on to the item number 10, the power supply report. Jane, thank you for
On my back.
coming back.
Thank you very much. I'm here to report on the April purchase power summary. RMLD's load for April was 52.5 million kilowatt hours, and that was comparably flat when you look at April of 2013. Our energy costs for the month of April came in at 2.46 million, and that was equivalent to a little under 5 cents or 4.7 cents per kilowatt hour. The April fuel charge was set at 6 cents per kilowatt hour, and RMLD sales totaled 53.5 million kilowatt hours. As a result, the RMLD overcollected by 653,000, and that resulted in the deferred fuel cash reserve balance of a little under $900,000. The May and June fuel charge was set at 6.5 cents, with the deferred fuel cash reserve projected to have a year-end fiscal year balance of approximately $2.2 million. The RMLD purchased 17.5% of our energy requirement from the spot market at an average cost of just under $55 per megawatt hour. On the capacity side, our peak demand for April was 89 megawatts, and this occurred on April 7th at 8 p.m., and the temperature was about 50 degrees. This compares to a peak demand of the previous year of about 91 megawatts, and that occurred on April 2nd at 8 p.m., where the temperature was 35 degrees. So temperature really drives the peak here. As a result of last year's peak, our capacity requirement was 215 megawatts. And total capacity dollars for April came in at 1.32 million, and that is equivalent to $6.14 per kilowatt month. Table 4 shows both the capacity and the energy costs, as well as the amount of energy being generated. Our April costs for capacity and energy came in at 7.22 cents per kilowatt hour. And for the month of April, 16.4% of our energy purchase was from hydro generation. Table 5 lists the 4 hydro projects where RMLD received direct revenues for the PPA. For calendar year 2014, first quarter, we project to bank 7,728 recs, and as of the date of the report, it has an estimated market value of approximately $266,000. Table 5 looks at transmission. RMLD's cost for transmission for the month of April came in at $884,000, and that's about a 1% decrease from the previous month, or March's. Table 7 and 8 refer to our energy efficiency. In March and April, RMLD processed 4 commercial rebates totaling $50,000, and that brought the fiscal year total to $252,000. We calculate that we have approximately 909 kilowatts of capacity savings and a little under 2,500 megawatt hours worth of energy savings. On the residential side, we calculate approximately 200 kilowatts of capacity savings and 104 megawatt hours of energy savings. To date, RMLD has processed 996 residential rebates totaling approximately $66,000, and 326 RMLD residential customers have received rebates or energy audits, and that was for a total of $65.2 thousand. That completes my report.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have one quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
How many people are applying for rooftop solar? Is that going up over the months and years?
Yeah, it's really cyclic. The DOER just approved their Phase 2 SREC program, so there was kind of a lull there because people were trying to see what the state's incentives are for the SRECs. So that just came out in the end of April, and we're seeing an increased cost or an increased number of calls and people inquiring about both residential and solar, residential and commercial.
Commercial. So I mean, it'd be great to know, like, year over year, how many projects are actually being applied for and installed.
I could get that information for you. They come through. We probably have over 25 solar installations.
Residential and commercial.
Yes.
That's it.
Correct.
Okay. So that's surprising.
Yeah, it's substantial. Within our service territory, we don't allow third-party vendors to come in and lease solar systems to our customers because that would open us up to deregulation because they would actually be selling our customers kilowatt hours. If that was to occur, then other suppliers could come off and take our larger commercial customers, which would be detrimental to our overall rates. So it's necessary for our customers to purchase the system, and that sometimes is cost prohibitive.
It is. And the last quick question is this: are there municipal school buildings? Where are we with those buildings putting up PV?
I just got a call from Wilmington. A CAB member, Dennis Kelly, called me last Friday, and that's been coming up in discussion. So I explained to him how we could set up a program where we could potentially sign a PPA with, and the town could receive the solar and whatnot. So he was going to take that back to his committees. I think, again, as I stated earlier, the SREC 2 having just come out in April, that was really, they couldn't make any decisions going forward because that's definitely part of the cost to fund the projects. So that may or may not pick up now that that's been approved.
Are there any school or municipal buildings in the 4 towns that have PV on the roofs now?
No, not to my knowledge.
That's too bad. It is probably economical to do if done right. I mean,
the cost of solar is coming down. So again, it's not economical without the SREC revenue, and so that's why it was necessary for the state to revise their Phase 2 program.
Mr. Chair, question?
Please, go
So, how many rebates, Jane, did you say there were so far, year-to-date?
Total for solar or all?
All, just all?
For residential, I had 996. Commercial, we had about 200 and, excuse me, let me just refer to my notes. $252,000, and that was probably about 20 or so.
And is there one or two particular items that driving most of the rebates? Like,
On the commercial side, it varies. We have a lot of technical HVAC upgrades. Those studies take quite a while to perform, and then by the time the commercial customer installs them, and then we verify the savings. So it's a long lead time process from the time that they apply to the time that we initiate the rebate. We're working with both the towns of Wilmington and North Reading. Both of them are building new high schools, and both of them are going towards the LEED certification. So we're working on rebates associated with those projects.
well,
we
what
ha-
on the residential side?
On the residential side, those need to be revisited. We currently have a vacated position within my department, but primarily those are refrigerators, air conditioning units, dishwashers, and there's a whole slew of those.
In the cycle time for the consumer?
Oh, that's a pretty quick turnaround. When they file the application and provide us with the necessary customer service handles those rebates, and those are probably turned around fairly quickly, 2 to 4 weeks maximum.
Yeah, that's great. Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're on to item 11, the engineering and operations report. Hamid?
Good evening. I'm here to report the engineering and operations for 2014 capital plan. Basically, there are 3 categories: the system projects, station upgrades, and SCADA projects. We got 7 projects, 6 projects going for system projects for FY 2014. The first one is 5W9 reconductoring the Wildwood Street, which is 25% completed. Actually, this project is now, we started with the overhead, now we're getting into underground as we speak. So it's scheduled to replace the underground in order to increase the circuit capacity and the capacity of the system. 4W4 reconductoring is delayed to FY16. There are 2 areas, the remaining the 2 areas in Old Linfield Center, URDs, that one is completed. Trog Holloway is 100% completed. And now we're getting ready to start the Cook's Farm. The design for that one is completed, and that's scheduled to be done by mid-September in 2014, which is FY 2015. 4W5, 4W6 tie, the design is completed. Again, this is going to be done in 2015, FY 2015. The URD upgrades, all towns, it's ongoing projects. Step-down area upgrades for all towns. This is ongoing projects. Currently, we are on Vine Street in Reading. And as a part of this project, what we are doing, we're upgrading the voltage, we're upping the voltage from 5 kV to 13.8, which means it's going to reduce the losses, system losses. And station upgrades, Station 4, we got 3 projects, Station 3-1, Station 5-1. The relay replacements, these are the replacement of the electromechanical relays to digital or solid state relays, which is going to be done FY 2015. Station 4, Gauss Station 35 kV potential transformer replacements, that's going to be done. Currently, we have contractor UPG is doing the maintenance work at Station 4. Now they've started testing all the equipment, relays, breakers, transformers, so we can set a baseline moving forward with a cyclic program for maintaining the equipment on a 3-year cycle. So once they're done with that, then we're going to replace the potential transformer replacement project that it's slated to be done for 2014. So this is kind of delayed because of the maintenance work that got the priority over this. Station 3, replacement of the service cutouts, that's also going to be done when we get to Station 3 maintenance, which is right now that is Station 4. The next one is scheduled to be maintained is station 3, and then we're going to get to station 5 afterwards. So it's a 3-4 months process in order to complete the maintenance work at all substations. Station 4 getaway replacements for W13 is 100% completed. That increases the circuit capacity from 10 MVA to 15 MVA. Station 5 getaway replacement 5W9, 5W10. That for the month of April and March was idle, but right now we have scheduled 5W9. The overhead work, we made significant progress, and now the underground is being scheduled to be replaced by end of June. The next project is a SCADA project with the Station 3 RTU replacement. This is the device, that high-tech device that it collects all the information from solid-state relays and the feeders, and so we can bring those information back to the SCADA. And that is also scheduled in FY 2015. The reason for that is, we wanted to do the maintenance. Maintenance got the priority over that. So we're waiting after the maintenance of that substation is done. Then we're going to do the control wiring and replace the old RTU with the new RTU, which is going to give us more capability for bringing more information back to the SCADA. The next page is the new customer service connections, which for commercial industrial customers, this item includes new service connections, upgrades, and service replacements for commercial and industrial customers. This represents the time and material associated with the replacement of an existing or installation of a new overhead service drop and the connection of an underground services, and etc. This does not include the time and materials associated with pole replacements, installations, transformer replacements, installations, the primary and secondary cable replacement and installations, etc. So that is the commercial projects for March and April include North Reading Middle and High Schools and Target in Wilmington area. The service installation for residential customers, also this item includes new and upgrade overhead and underground services, which you see the routine constructions, that includes the routine constructions, meaning the pole settings, overhead underground upgrades, pole damages, station group hazmat or oil spills, porcelain cutout replacements, lighting, storm troubles, underground subdivisions, animal guard installations, and miscellaneous capital costs, which they total year to date of $1.45 million. The cutout under this program for the March, the ones that we changed out were 4, and for April were 3. The cutouts installed new or replaced because of the damage were approximately 23 in March and 13 in April. The next section of the report talks about, you see the system reliability. Basically, there are the RMLD is tracking 3 indices. 2 are for the duration of outages and 1 for the frequency of the outages. The 2 durations are system average interruption durations and customer average interruption durations, and the frequency is system average interruption frequency index. And the SAIDI from 2010 to 2014, you see that up to date in 2014 year to date, we have the index number for that is 6.03, which is lower than the regional average of 62.35 and national average of 85.75. These are for all municipals in our area in the Northeast region. The system average interruption frequency year to date for 2014 is 0.16, which is again lower than the national average of 0.55. The regional average of 0.55 and national average of 0.83. And the last index is the customer average interruption duration, which year to date is 37.72, which again is lower than the national average of 83 and the regional average of 105.77. These are the pockets of the outages that you see these numbers usually is a little bit higher than the SAIDI because that's a system performance, the system average interruption. This is customers, the pockets of outages caused by trees coming down or the motor vehicle accidents that they hit a pole and the fuse blows and you take number of customers out for long duration because of the repairs that necessary in order to bring them back on. It's longer time. So the last chart that you see, the pie chart, you see from 2010 to 2014, the outage causes, types. Again, I think this is a good indication that's going to give us a good roadmap of which directions we need to focus on for the maintenance on the overhead, underground, and the substations. And as you could see over here, 27%, which is the highest amount, relates. 28% is tree related, 27% is wildlife related, 8% equipment like cutouts, 10% is equipment services, the equipment transformers, which is some of those failures, some of are 9%. The switches, the equipment that relates to the switches are about 4%. Distribution and transmission related outages were almost none, less than 1%. And the storm and lightning related were approximately 4%. We've had quite few storm-related storm troubles in March and April. We had actually 50% of those that impacted the Reading and Wilmington, and we had one that impacted the North Reading. So that concludes my report for system reliability.
Thank you, Hamid. I had a question about the outage causes because the two big ones, the trees and the wildlife, clearly stand out. But is there any way to capture sort of how much of an impact each one of these has? Because I would think that, for example, a transformer blowing would have a larger impact than maybe a wildlife. I don't know that for a fact.
Right.
I'm just curious, is there another way to kind of carve this that shows which ones are the major categories correspond to major outages as well?
Well, the ones that you see actually for trees, these are the ones that they cause major outages. When the tree comes down, especially the pine trees, they got shallow roots.
Yes.
So when there's a storm and rain, heavy rain, they have a tendency of coming down on the lines. And once they come down, they take 3 or 4 poles and the wires on the ground. And if it's on a main street, that causes the major outage, which is going to take longer period for restoration. Because you're going to have to get everything back up and reconstruct, and damages are usually extensive. The wildlife, although we have intensified our wildlife installation and animal guard program. However, there's still, there are still areas that expose no matter how much you cover these equipment. Actually, we got like for a squirrel guard, we got on the bushing of the transformers, and now they're getting underneath. So they're smart. They find their way.
Makes you wonder why they want to get there in the first place.
They're attracted to electricity, and
It's warm. Maybe that's it. It's warm. Yes. I think that could be exactly it.
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are there any other
You're welcome.
questions? No, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The financial report?
Good evening. Tonight I'll be presenting the
Absolutely.
April financials, which represent the first 10 months of FY14. So looking at page 3A, the change in net assets. For the month of April, net income with a positive change in net assets was $987,000, which decreased our year-to-date net loss to $372,000. The year-to-date budgeted income was at $2.9 million, resulting net income being under budget by about $3.3 million. The actual year-to-date fuel expenses exceeded the fuel revenues by $1.7 million. On the revenue side, page 11B, year-to-date base revenues are under budget by $1.2 million, or about 3%. The actual base revenues are at $38.9 million, compared to the budgeted amount of $40.1 million. Looking at the expenses on page 12A, Year-to-date purchase power base expense was over budget by $156,000, or about a little more than 0.5%. The actual purchase power base cost came in at $24 million, compared to the budgeted amount of $23.9 million. Year-to-date operating and maintenance expenses combined are under budget by $273,000, about 2.5%. The actual O&M expenses came in at $10.4 million, compared to the budgeted amount of $10.7 million. Depreciation expense and voluntary payments to the towns are on budget. And speaking of those voluntary payments, those payments have been made to the 4 towns in the month of June. Looking at cash on page 9, operating fund is at $12.2 million, capital fund balance at $3.9 million, rate stabilization fund $6.7 million, deferred fuel fund $893,000, and the energy conservation fund is at $435,000. On the general information side, looking at page 5, year-to-date kilowatt-hour sales were at 584 million, which is about 8.3 million kilowatt-hours, or about 1.4% behind last year's actual figure. Along the general information side, we're approaching that time of the year where the auditors are coming in. They'll be in next week on the 18th and the 19th to do some preliminary testing for 2 days. The end of the month, we'll be doing our physical count. We'll be counting the warehouse Saturday and Sunday, the 20th and the 29th, and we'll be doing the trucks on Monday, the 30th. And the audit right now is scheduled for the week of August 18th. The last section, budget variance, there's a correction on that. Cumulatively, the 5 divisions were under budget by $270,000, or about 1.6%, and I apologize for that error.
Are there any questions? I just had the question in terms of being under budget, in terms of the net income and revenue. These will be addressed, I assume, through capture of the rate increase and as we move forward?
Yes.
Well, in July 1, we'll have the unbundled rates going
Right.
through. With the fuel revenue charge being at 6.5 cents in May and June, that should help offset the variance between fuel expense and fuel revenue. So that'll just flow to the bottom line.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Well, no. Thank you very much, man. Okay, I think we're to the point of item number 13, reorganization of RMLD Board of Commissioners, always a fun time. Everybody take out their weapons. And I believe that this would also include things such as the RMLD Board of the committees and the assignments in terms of reassignment of people and where they would like to be. But we should probably start with I think probably nomination for chairman for the board. And so I would like to ask for nominations. As a matter of fact, I would like to make one myself, if I could. I'd like to nominate David Talbot for election to chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
Second.
See a show of hands for this?
How about closing nominations? Move to close nominations first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another nomination?
Move to close nominations first.
Move to, second?
Second.
Second. Okay, any discussion? I see a vote, show of hands, please.
Wrong hand.
That's why I'm leaving. Excellent. Well, congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. It'll be a real honor to try to do as good a job as John did and that Phil did for
many years.
before that.
Absolutely.
It's. Yeah, I hope I can fill those large shoes.
I'm sure you will be. Let's see, given that we've just elected him, should he take over now?
He should take over
I
now.
think you need to take over now in terms of
You're now in charge.
the committees and assignments.
Oh, boy.
So
What do you wanna
perhaps we
get
could.
Please, can you pass the gavel? So.
That was fast, wasn't it?
You want to get the vice chairman?
Oh, yeah, we should do vice chairman
Okay.
as well. Nomination.
So somebody's gonna have to help me with the language, but we would like to. Who would like to submit a nomination for vice chairman? I guess is the. Is that the way to put it?
Sure. I'd like to nominate Phil Pacino for vice chairman. I think he does an excellent job. He's provided me with excellent advice throughout the entire year. He's been in this position for many years, so he knows which hand to raise. To think about. So,
I second.
Ready for a vote? All in favor?
Move to
No.
close,
Move to
move to
close.
close nominations.
Oh, any additional nominees for vice chairman would like to surface themselves? No. With that, are we ready for a vote?
I'll move we close nominations, please.
Second.
Okay, I accept the
No.
motion.
No, you don't have to. It's been
Okay.
done.
All in favor of
There we go.
Phil Pacino being the,
No. Closing nomination.
all right, we're going to close the nomination. Do we have to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, let's have a vote on closing the nominations.
Yep.
Let us note that it is a unanimous vote to close the nominations. Okay, now a vote on the motion, please. All in favor of Phil becoming vice chairman? Thank you. So, what are we doing about all these committees? I guess that's the,
I think in the past, we've just kind of said, okay, who's interested in what?
that's correct.
yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if, just to talk this through a little bit, whether
Right.
we should think about this and bring it to the next meeting, because there's a lot of committees here, some of which, we haven't done a lot over the past year, or some things have been done informally. And are we really ready to do all this right now? I just throwing that out there.
Well, if I may,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman,
please.
there are essentially 4 listed. So maybe what we could do is just get a pro forma listing of who would like to serve on which ones.
Okay.
And then we could either move it to the next meeting, table it, to vote on that, or we can take care of it here, whichever. The assignments for accounts payable and the payroll for 4-month rotation, I think are pretty straightforward. So those are, we can move those around.
Yeah, and I'm signing the accounts payable, the warrant this month.
Absolutely.
Jeannie has assigned me, so.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if I got drafted or what.
So what I might suggest is see if there is interest by individuals, and just walk through the committees, like
Okay, so-
about audit,
Who would like to be on the audit committee?
I would prefer to stay on the audit committee with my training and background
Okay,
on that.
I'm happy.
okay, so
Yeah.
that sounds good to me, that it would be Phil and Bob.
Yeah.
I
that's
think
fine.
they're the most qualified, certainly.
Yeah.
We've spent time on that and over the years.
Right.
Then should we put that to a vote? Or
Sure.
any further discussion?
Get the whole list.
Okay, fine. I guess my first take would be to not have a public relations committee anymore. I think things are on track, and it's not something that we formally met to have committee meetings on.
Right.
Yes, it's true, and you did all the work.
Well, I mean,
You did.
Colleen and
You
Priscilla
wrote
did all
the
the work.
article and everything in the newspaper, and
Right.
so it was just,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we
Excellent.
need a committee, I guess is what I'm saying. Does anybody disagree, or?
I don't disagree with that at all.
I don't disagree with that at all.
So then,
I tried to convey everything, every program or any change that we think would improve our benefits from RMLD or have any type of an impact. I try to bring those up at the meeting, so
right,
I feel that
it's covered in the meeting.
I'm getting feedback as what the commissioners would like from that. I think it's gone well so far without a committee meeting.
I
So I
agree.
think if you're happy with going with the type of feedback that I'm providing and communication efforts that I'm putting forth with the board, I would agree that that's probably
Okay,
can be
I
done
think
with.
we all agree, a little less bureaucracy.
Fine with me.
So then the budget committee, who, Tom?
Yeah, I have, not a big deal if I serve on it or if I don't. So if others, maybe it'd be good to rotate it around a little bit.
Yeah, I would like to serve on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Tom, John, and Bob. Do we need 3, right, for,
Yeah,
okay.
you'd have 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to be a good chairman, I think.
Well, do we elect the chairman in the committee itself?
Here, we do it here,
We do it here.
on the
Okay.
board.
So it's going to be Tom, John, and Bob Is that it? Not,
Yeah.
okay.
Great.
With John as chairman? Is that it?
The ex-chair will be the chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Speak.
And policy committee. Do we need a policy committee? I have to ask.
I'd like to suggest, if I may,
Yeah.
that we extend the policy committee just at least up and through the point of where we see what the town recommended.
That's fine.
And make sure that they're in line. I think there's one addition we need to add to the policy group in terms of policies, that, and that was the steps that go through to do a rate increase. That was something that was lacking, and we felt sorely, not totally prepared for that. I think we need to formalize it and get that, just the process.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Do we need a committee to do that, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Chairman Talbot, I just want to mention that we haven't had a follow-up policy committee meeting because what we had met on probably last fall was to discuss the separation of the governance policies versus the operational policies. There wasn't a mechanism to put the operational policies, so they all became board policies.
Okay.
So, for example, operational policies, including drug and alcohol, or how we operate the skater systems, we needed to separate that. So I provided the policy committee a list of all the policies and the recommendations of which ones would go where. So I would like to see that stay.
Okay. Say no more.
That reason,
Okay.
and for the next reason, and perhaps after we separate them, and then there's only probably 4 or 5 board policies, we probably wouldn't need one at that point.
Okay, so we're going to carry on with the policy committee.
Right. And I would like to serve on the
Okay.
policy committee also, if that is acceptable.
Certainly. And I'm happy to not be on the policy committee unless it would be good for me to be on it. If any other volunteers? Tom? I think I saw your hand up in the air. Maybe.
Great.
So Tom, John, and...
Can you as the chair of that, I assume? Yeah, since you're the chair of the other one.
Right.
And,
We can't overload you.
and Phil, are you going to be on the policy committee, I hope? I mean...
Yes, I will. I'll stay
Okay.
as the chair. on
Okay,
that
good. So
committee.
that will be
So-
Phil as chair and Tom and John. Is that right?
Right, that
Okay.
sounds good.
Easy button.
Anything else? I think, or are we ready to vote on? I'll recap that, but should I recap what we just did?
Yep, please,
Sure.
please
Okay.
do.
So we'll do it in terms of a motion. Move that the new committee structure be audit committee is Phil Pacino and Bob Soley. Is what we said, right? There will be no public relations committee. The budget committee will be Phil Pacino, Bob Soley, and John Stempek as chairman, right?
No, I don't, no, that's not right. Right, I'm off the, I'm off the budget
Right.
committee.
Okay.
Right, so it's Tom,
Okay, right.
myself, and Rob.
With John as chairman,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And then the policy committee is Phil, so I'm a little tired from I was on a plane all day, is going to be Phil,
John
John, and
and Tom.
Tom.
with Phil as
Yep.
chairman.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Did we get all that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Ready for a vote?
So we need a second.
Okay, so second?
Yep. Mhm.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, the motion
Unanimous
carries
pass.
5-0.
Yes.
What do we do now?
Well, you want
Go
to
left.
set the rotation on the accounts payable and the payroll now, or?
Jean had suggested that. I think she sent something
Yeah.
out. For the account payable warrant, she had suggested August, Commissioner Talbot, September, Stempek, October, Pacino, December, O'Rourke, and January, again, Talbot, so rotating. I would like to switch, if I could, for September with someone, because I'm going to be absent for a couple of weeks, and I think it'd be better for me some other month, if someone would like to switch with me.
I'll switch to.
Okay, Tom, switch. So I'll do December,
Okay, so what's the
And you'll
rotation?
do-
Yeah,
September.
okay.
So the rotation would be, let's see, actually,
I'm doing it now this month.
You're
for
doing it
June.
this
I'm
month?
doing, I got June.
June. Actually, I didn't mention July. So Tom, you were actually written down for July.
Okay.
And you will have someone show you how to do that as well
Yeah,
there
if you
first.
wanna let me know, I'll come and we'll sit together.
Yeah, good.
On a Saturday morning or a Friday night, whatever's convenient for you. Okay, we can meet in the conference room, the general manager's conference room, go over what needs to be done.
When is it done by? Or-
It's usually signed on the weekend.
We're sold.
They're usually available like on Friday afternoon.
You're not getting off that easy.
Yeah.
How about you do
They're
September?
usually
Would that
ready
be
on
okay?
Friday afternoon. And they're in the
Since he's
conference
doing
room,
July.
as long as they're signed by
We weren't
Monday
going to
morning.
say anything. Okay, we've
So I don't
made
know
one
when it-
slight change. So July will be, June is.
I'm June.
Pacino. July.
I'm Mr. June. Not on
Mr.
the
June.
calendar, not on the calendar.
July is O'Rourke. August is Talbot. September is Soley. October is Pacino. December is Stempek. January is Talbot. February is Stempek. March is Pacino. And April is O'Rourke.
Okay.
On payroll, Jeannie has suggested that Commissioner Soley is the first backup because his term will be up after the elections next year.
I have I want to question, do we feel that we need to always sign off on payroll every week?
2 weeks.
Every
Thank
2
you.
weeks, correct?
Do we still need to be doing this every 2 weeks, that one of us has to sign the payroll? Or could it be something where if we want to review it, we can? I know this is heresy, I'm just asking
I
whether,
think it was a requirement, wasn't it, that we,
Usually it should be at least one of us that signs it as, I mean, it's very difficult to tell whether or not it's all
What's-
right or wrong at this point, the way
I-
it's done.
I can comment that on the payables, we reduced it from 2 people
Right.
to
Three.
1.
Three.
3 people.
Three. We went from 3 to 1.
Which is a major step forward, I think,
Right,
in all of our
yes,
mind.
yes.
I don't know. I guess I'd have to.
I mean, it's good to have the review, I question the value that we're actually adding, that we have to, every 2 weeks, one of us, the payroll somehow is invalid if one of the 5 of us hasn't signed it. I'm just giving you my feeling about it.
Have we had any issues in the last years?
I don't think we've had any
No,
major issues, have
I've
we?
not been aware of any issue that comes up. Any questions, usually the department's pretty good about answering questions right away in terms of.
Bob, you have an opinion? I mean,
Any
seriously.
concerns?
No issues.
Yeah, okay, I'm just,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Yeah.
And that's that perhaps we do it by exception, meaning that if there is an employee that has an exception in terms of vacation or sick or salary or a bonus or anything else that might be involved, that we would have to look at it and accept it. Otherwise, I think things look pretty much the same from every 2 weeks to every 2 weeks. We
Right.
trust the department to be in charge of what they're doing with their employees. I mean, it happens in every other
Right.
thing that they do.
yeah, I mean, that's sort of how I feel about it, and that.
I would just wonder if you have to clarify the exceptions, because they would imagine that there could be quite a few exceptions from
Yeah.
time, but, you know.
Why don't we
Bob,
think about it
please.
and,
Yeah, Bob.
Steve does provide an exception sheet.
Right.
For that bi-weekly payroll, kind of highlights what's
Right.
about that payroll, otherwise you're right, it's pre-vanilla. Not sign the payroll warrant.
My concern is the control. I mean,
But I think they really want to see a signal.
yeah.
Yeah,
okay, fine.
I mean, I'd just rather give the appearance that the board is actually looking over somebody's shoulder. Now, how
Sure.
effective? I agree with you. I mean,
Yeah.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Minnie Minoso could be in that payroll.
Yeah.
We would never find Minnie Minoso.
I found him one week.
Now, Minnie Minoso, to be explained, was the first Latin player to play in the major leagues. So,
And when did he join?
He also
the
pulled
RMLD?
4 hours of overtime on Sunday.
but he could be in the payroll. We would never find him.
So I would suggest, Chairman, if
Yeah.
you may, that we think about this
Right.
until, bring it up in the next meeting. Until then, we continue on with
Yes,
business as usual.
it's a point
may
of
I
discussion.
Yes,
suggest,
please. Well, I'm
instead
sorry,
of
it's
3
not mine.
people on 4-month rotation, you have 4 people on 3-month rotation. I just decrease the pain by 25%.
I'm absolutely open to that, but you'd have to address the chairman. Mr. Levine.
So it's a good suggestion. So I think what we're deciding is that we're going to leave things as they are. I was opening it up for some discussion. As long as we're reorganizing to question some of the things that we do all the time and whether we continue to need to do them.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yeah.
you'd like, I'll have Mr. Fournier check in the legality of
Yeah, that
the
would be a good
signature
idea.
and just report back
I
at
mean,
the
if
next
it's something we
meeting.
have to do, then that ends the discussion. Yeah, of course.
There's just a question for RMLD and the employee. So is it, do you view it as a help or a hindrance in the process of paying people and paying your payables? Does the signature process for payroll and payables help or hurt the effective operation of RMLD? Or is it?
I think it's more of a requirement or legality issue as opposed
Yeah,
to.
but that aside, because we can check that, if
Right.
it turns out we have the decision to do it or not do it.
Well, you look at the payables, I mean, the approval process that it goes through, for anything to go through that might be questionable, a lot of people have to sign off on it by the time it gets to the
Right.
commissioners to sign
That's
off.
correct, yeah.
What's the biggest regular size payable? I mean, if you're this-
Power bills?
Right, absolutely.
So it's a lot of money, but it's money you owe.
It's more effective oversight.
Right.
It's to let the department know that the board is actually looking over somebody's shoulder. You know, because there have been, you know, in one of the past administrations, there were issues.
Yeah, I would say the payables is probably more effective than the payroll, just.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Hopefully you have.
Right.
Exactly.
If you're gonna either audit the payroll, you don't, if
Right.
just signing it off is,
Right.
you're also under the,
Right,
you
That's
know.
kind of where I'm coming from on it, what you just said, Tom.
right.
So I think we're done then. We're leaving that as it is, right?
Correct.
For the moment, yeah.
Okay.
So I
General
think,
discussion?
General discussion,
Can I have a minute?
please.
Sometimes things talk to you. And in the past few months, I've had a number of things talk to me. The snowstorms in March. My knees on the stairwell. And most recently, the lawn talks to me. Soon our house will be on the market. We'll be moving to another community. So by September at least, you will have the opportunity, the fourth opportunity in 3 years to put another person in this chair. I'm the third one that's been in on this 3-year term, and in September or thereabouts, you'll get to do a fourth. That's probably a record.
it probably is. Are you moving to one of the 4 communities that we serve?
No. A competitor community to Brooksby Village in Peabody.
Ah, yeah. Good. We could have a 5th
Congratulations.
columnist there, yeah. Well, I think I can say for everybody, we would hate to see you go.
Absolutely.
I should warn Peabody Light, you coming?
They might be looking for a new commissioner over there.
Well, congratulations, Bob.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
the news and.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you hear voices, it's good to listen to
It is
them.
good to
Yeah.
listen.
Did you say the lawn had spoken to you?
Oh, yes.
Okay. What did it say?
Get out of here.
Well,
Thank you for sharing that
yeah,
with us.
thank you for sharing, and
You're welcome.
we'll be following up on that in the coming months. So, we've reached,
Right, I think it's, we can get a motion to adjourn to move into executive.
Okay.
Move into executive
unless there's
session.
anything else?
Right. I'll move that the board go in executive session to approve the executive session meeting minutes of February 27, 2014, and to discuss mediation and union negotiations update, and to return to regular session for the sole purpose of adjournment.
Second.
Okay, and before we take a vote on that, we just want to say the next meeting is going to be Thursday, July 31st.
That's correct. I think Gina asked to make sure that everyone's calendars can accommodate that.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
think, actually, I might have a conflict,
Yep.
which is that we'll be on vacation. So perhaps we should,
We could potentially move it, or
can we move it? Can we do that now?
we have a vice chair.
Okay, it's true, we do. But could we move it to be a week earlier?
That's fine with me.
Yeah, what,
I
if
have no
that's
problem
okay with
either-
others?
Either Thursday's fine.
The Thursday, the 24th? Could we
Yep.
do that?
I'll have to look at my calendar, but
Okay.
sure. I mean,
I'm
Okay,
just
so
wandering
then-
the streets that night.
The Thursday, the next meeting will be Thursday, the 24th at 7:30 in this room. So now we have a motion and a second, so all in favor of adjourning to go to executive session?
aye.
Aye.
Hold the board. Mr. Pacino, aye?
Aye.
John Stempak, aye.
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 Tom O'Rourke.
Thank you, everybody.
You.